I mean, are you all snuggled? Got your sleeping bags and everything? I thought I'd change the backdrop just to kind of reflect our mood at the moment as well. Welcome to a late night Hearts of the Matter, when passionate Doctor Who fans debate the latest news that has our pulses racing and the palpitations rebounding across the Whoniverse. An all too relaxed RTD in an interview for Children's Newsround, of all things, on CBBC, lets slip more than he can surely have wanted to reveal. We have been discussing endlessly the state of the show in the light of the no Disney yet commissioning season 3, no news of Shooty staying or going, RTD going to do other projects on other channels, and The Sun then revealed, as you remember, because we were here first, in February, that Doctor Who was cancelled. Automatically, you had the bots defending the show and the BBC putting out a statement saying this was always the case, that they will await a Disney decision after season 2 has aired. So let's get on with it. Let's dive into the latest news. I have to say, too many trailers, too many interviews, I think, are forcing loose lips and mistakes. Remember Shooty being edited in his Graham Norton performance recently when season 3 was mentioned? Yeah, I think we've got a taste of that. So let's get my panelists on and say hi to both of them. So good to see you, Jeremy.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all.
Well, we were there talking about the accent with naughty people we were. And and where is he? I'm trying to get him. There we go. And Sci-Fi Chronicles, John, hiya.
Hi, how you doing? All right? Good to see you.
Here we go again. So we'll get straight into it, because everybody is probably saying, oh, I've seen that Newsround clip, and some know it's been edited. And so let's get straight to it, and then we'll discuss. So I've summarised it here. From Doctor Who TV. Doctor Who's future looks bleak as RTD signals a post-series 15 hiatus. I love that word, don't I? All the rumours have been swirling in recent months about the future of Doctor Who beyond the upcoming Series 15. I'll tell you that again. From speculation about the Disney deal, blah, 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 blah. The segment on Newsround with Shooty Gatwa and new companion Varada Sethu being asked if there was any news about Series 3. They said they don't know anything. They're giving not much away. I mean, look at their faces. Oh, I'm not sure. I tell you one thing. It was great acting. Great. Although I didn't like the acting of Varada Sethu in the shot. How many shots and trailers are they showing? I've seen another one where she's in the garden and Mrs. Flood's watching. The acting I found was pretty poor. But it's this bit that I think fans are talking about. I'll be honest with you. The Inchai Private Eye Newsround person, I know everybody next to RTD is, look at the size. Now.
Is he very small, or is he standing in the hole?
I think he's in the hole that RTD's about to say. He's about to dig. So anyway, this is what he said. I kind of know that Doctor Who has acquired the status of like Robin Hood. Sometimes there might be a pause, and during that pause, the viewers of Newsround now will grow up a few years and start writing stories, and they'll bring it back. So I have absolute faith that will survive, because I am living proof of it. And that's what happens to good ideas. No good idea ever dies. Is he calling himself a good idea? I'm not.
Yeah.
What is he saying? I am a good idea.
Dear.
Anyway, so that's what's got everybody talking. He uses the word pause twice and then bringing it back. And all he was asked by the Newsround presenter is, have you got any news on season 3? So
I mean, I saw this earlier and I was like, put a fork in it. This fella's cooked, it's done, and I in a few years' time, Veranda See-Through, she'll be selling carpets in a warehouse in Newcastle, and Shooty will be doing DIY in Newcastle, doing their proper full-time jobs because they clearly can't act. And then RTD will move on to his Channel 4 series after destroying a much beloved sci-fi series. And then in a few years' time, somebody will turn up, a professional who will turn up, and they will bring it back. And his era second era will be completely forgotten, just like the Jodie era. And I will say that the damage this guy has caused is going to take a producer with balls of steel to literally retcon certain elements of it. But
I was just having a chat earlier today with some of our panelists as we're assembling for the next week or so, and when we were discussing, I have to say there is a point now where you can't stay respectful to every story that was ever made since 1963. I was a purist and I thought that's what you should do, but I think when you've had so many ripping, so much vandalism into Doctor Who now from so many showrunners, I actually think you might have to erase some of them now. But where do you come in on this one, Jeremy? Are we hyperventilating over nothing?
My guess is, and reading between the lines, is that there's not going to be a season 3 from the sounds of it.
What gave you that idea, mate?
And I'd put a sure £50 bet on it. That would be the case. I mean, if the show does come back, it's going to be 2028 or 29 maybe. But I'll take that with a pinch of salt.
It was fascinating. I mean, I didn't have time to kind of put the video together just in case it hit a copyright thing anyway. But if anybody does look at it, he looks as though he goes almost cross-eyed one point, RTD, when he's just asked the question about season 3, and then he suddenly just looks like this. And I almost wonder whether, I remember our good friend, the Queen of the Woke, Rachel, who was talking to Thin Kin and other people, have said, this bit's been edited out now. Now, is this a Graham Norton 2 moment where basically somebody has misspoke, loose lips, because he was only asked about season 3, which any journalist worth their salt would ask. And he says, I kind of know the Doctor's reached the status of like Robin Hood. In other words, it's legend. It might pause, but it'll come back. That wasn't the question, was it?
No.
I think he needs to, particularly when he's going to be interviewed about the series, he needs to think about, now, what am I going to say? What questions am I going to be asked? And he needs to have some really good answers to those questions.
Jeremy, you don't understand this hierarchy in Bad Wolf at all, do you?
It's like when you go for a job interview, you do the research, you think, what questions am I going to be asked at this job interview?
Yeah.
And he just seems to just come out like a whirligig of different ideas and go off at a tangent.
Yeah.
I mean, Robin Hood, I don't get that. And I'm talking about a pause. Well, that means you're talking about a cancellation, or the show is not going to be coming back anytime soon.
I have a different view on it, guys, where everything that you hear now going forward, and I would say for the last few weeks now, he doesn't give a stuff about the promotion of Doctor Who. This is all to do a PR spin on his own integrity, because he knows what's coming. He knows they're going to announce that it's being put on hiatus, as they like to call it, and he's going to do some backpedaling now, and he's going to be talking about, protecting his own personal reputation.
Legacy.
Yeah, and legacy. So he will be doing the rounds going forward about these all, the spins about, it's his legendary status as like Robin Hood. This is all for him to get out there. He'll drop things as he goes along, but just watch over the next few weeks that he will let slip a lot more things, but he'll talk himself up as well as he goes along.
And this is the situation we're in. Every streamer I know, I have tried the same. There's a lot of panelists who say, I'll come on your shows, but I won't do a review. I don't want to watch it. And there's other people who are saying, I wouldn't watch Doctor Who if it wasn't for you inviting me on to do the stream. So in other words, so many die-hard, passionate Doctor Who fans are actually saying, really, I'm dislocated from it. Now, you've got Steve Zayce here. I have loved the show since I was a kid. I don't even think I will watch. I was talking to John Daly earlier, who will be on our panel on Sunday, and he said it's the most unengaged he's been since he was born, basically. And he just said, I don't know anything about the series. I haven't looked. I haven't bothered to look. And you think, God, That's an indictment of RTD's era. Lex Kane here, Gatwahoo, you're never going to be missed. Goodbye, RTD. Just leave the TARDIS keys and don't come back to Doctor Who. Remember, everybody in our thread are passionate Doctor Who fans. You know, this is a hell of an indictment. Anon, good idea. No good idea ever dies. What does it say that his ideas all died on the vine? We'll come back to what he says there in a little minute. Lee Smith is helping me out saying it was heavily edited, the Newsround clip. Let's have a look. Yes, and we've got here Woodhouse. Even if the Beeb want to bring the show back, it'll take a good few years to get a new streamer on board. I reckon it'll take 3 or 4 years.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I agree.
The trouble you've got, and I've said this before, when it does come back, because it will come back at some point, because you know, for them it's an important brand that makes a bit of money for them. But the trouble that they've got now is, I've said it before, that RTD is a major problem, and the producers that are his mates that are the problem with this iteration of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
But the trouble is, everybody has a boss, and I blame the people that didn't hold his feet to the fire. Everyone is responsible for making sure someone stays on point when they're employing them.
I think this is the indictment of the BBC, though, as well, because the BBC are sloppy with money. The BBC had a franchise here that it's unthinkable, Doctor Who, to be quite honest. I agree with him on the fact that it's such a good idea. But the thing is, you're doing a very good job, RTD, of trying to sink the blooming thing. No wonder you did an episode with the Titanic. But can I just say, some of the language he uses here psychologically, it does give an awful lot away. Remember, he was only asked the question, any news about season 3? And the 2 actors in the main roles just said, we don't know anything. They seem to know what to say. And he says, he compares it to a legend, says pause twice, and talks about, I am living proof that that's what happens to, you know, good ideas survive. No good idea ever dies. So nobody said anybody was dying. Nobody said Doctor Who was dying. He seems to be implying there's been a death of a show, and then says, but it's been paused. And then does that patronizing nonsense saying, all you little kiddies one day might be able to write for Doctor Who, like me. You know, in other words, the cat is completely out the bag, surely.
Yeah, 100%, guys. And Brendan, I agree. I think that with this as well, it's done. As I said, it's cooked. I think the fact of the matter, where he's talking about the kids will grow up and they will write Doctor Who. Kids will grow up and write Doctor Who, but they'll write it after watching proper Doctor Who. They won't. They won't grow up thinking, I really need to see Tutti Frutti on screen.
I can't see kids. Well, I remember, you know, having been in teaching, I didn't see kids, and I've got so many teacher mates who tell me, yeah, they remember lots of kids who were into Doctor who then weren't into Doctor Who later on. People weren't flocking to Doctor Who in the Chibnall era, and just as the special started, the kids weren't. So if he's talking to all those lovely little Newsround, viewers that you can write Doctor Who, I think they're going to be in their 50s and 60s. He's talking about it's going to be a long time, because I think that the fact of, you know, found classic Who, rediscovered it that way, and that's going to take years and years and years. Anthony Parkinson here, Gatwa was full of news about season 3 on Norton Show, but now he's clueless. It is fishy, isn't it? That was edited out. When they're asked about season 3, we don't know anything. When they're asked about season 3, he says the show it won't die. It'll be paused and come back.
But the way he's talking about it, they'll bring it back.
Yes.
So that means does he have confirmation that Disney are not going to fund it and the BBC are not going to fund it? So they're saying there's going to be a pause.
Well, it's interesting here. Lex Kane's got a very thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. But Lex Kane says, could the future of Doctor Who be in movies with great writers and going back to roots and mystery, fellow Time Lord? One of my theories, Lex Kane, and I'll ask Jeremy first, is I'm wondering whether the RTD says they've got about 3 or 4 different plans. If Disney doesn't commission, you know, how do they keep it in house and all the rest of it? I think they might go down, you know, that parallel road where basically you might get about 3 specials in a year, movie length. So let's say in that way, you'd get maybe TV movies. Now, I'm not into this. I think Doctor Who needs episodic, it needs cliffhangers.
Yeah.
But what do you reckon, Jeremy, on what the future would be if there even was a
Well,
plot?
the way you could go is either the BBC fund it and make it, or Disney fund it and make it, or it could be picked up by some film company who say we'll buy the rights and we'll make a big film for cinema in a few years' time. Who knows? I mean, there's various different options with this, but I mean, as far as Doctor Who's concerned, the brand will continue because you've got the Doctor Who magazine, you've got Big Finish audio CDs, and of course the toys. So it will never be out of the public domain.
Maybe, John, and I know that I've answered and I've asked Jeremy and I've mentioned TV movies, but I'm going to say to you, John, the missing trick in Doctor Who for 60 odd years, to be quite honest, apart from the 2 Peter Cushings, was it never was proper big movies in the cinema. I'm wondering if Lex Kane is saying that's the undiscovered country. Doctor Who in the 2030s and late 2020s doing a series of movies, a bit like Star Trek with Kirk and that.
I don't think it works, in my opinion. I think the reason being is, you know, again, it's all personal preference, but Doctor Who is geared up to be a TV show. I think that ship passed when, what was it, 2010, when that Harry Potter director was touting about doing a movie and Moffat shot him down and said, no, the TV series will continue. I think for me, taking all of the woke ideology out of the equation for a moment, I think something that's been just as damaging to Doctor Who over the last, 10 years now, is the output of the series that they put out. So it was very sporadic, where you could have, a few here, and then you would be waiting a year, 2 years for a new season to come out. Then they would do their rebrand several times, and you'd wait another 2 years for a new season. Now, if you're trying to get kids interested in your show, by the time you've got round to doing a new series, they've grown out of it. Yeah. They're already onto the newest thing. You know, Brendan, more than I do. You know, kids have got short memories. You know, they go on to the new thing that's of interest to them. So not only is the ideology damaged Doctor Who, but the mismanagement of it, it's been atrocious, you know, and it's destroyed it.
I think there's been a lot of complacency, over ambition before you've established the show again. I honestly do think that if you think there's 8 episodes a year, turn them into 25 episodes, there's 16 episodes a year. The spin-off shouldn't be happening if the main show hasn't actually established itself. So there's 5 episodes of the spin-off that get turned into another 10 episodes of Doctor Who. You've suddenly got 26 episodes of 25 minutes for Doctor Who, so that for half a year it's on TV. Surely that is it's not about, we know this, we don't need the Disney, drama and big money. What we need is Doctor Who to get back into the national consciousness on a weekly basis, get the cliffhangers, get the jeopardy, get the stories and the world building happening. And I have to say, I don't think the road is TV movies and 2 or 3 a year, because that's not Doctor Who. And as I saw, you see, the movie idea is not. It's sitting about 50-50. It seems in our thread. We've got people saying yes. We've got people like Sean saying no. Doctor Who's a TV show, and
Well, the problem with the TV movie, the Paul McGann TV movie, is they didn't back it up with a series. You have the TV movie and then the series. And if they had continued it in that vein, then you probably would have got more, some really good ratings.
You're right, Jeremy, and I think what was it? It got 9 million for that show, and I think the thing that shot it, the TV movie, was in the US they didn't have faith with it, so they put it up against the finale of Roseanne, I think it was at the time.
Yes,
which just wiped it out basically. But I think. Even then, and this is where I think where we are now from there to here. When that came out in 96, there was still a lot of love for Doctor Who. So even people that had maybe switched off in the 80s, when that was coming along, they went, "Oh, Doctor Who's on, we'll watch that because it was in your mind that you grew up as a kid, or you had family members that encouraged you to watch it as a kid. So you knew about it. You had that respect for the show. It's very different now. I think they've damaged the brand so badly that a movie idea just wouldn't work. You wouldn't get the return.
It's almost like the perfect storm. They have taken on the fans, assumed they can win new ones by talking about various topics. And on top of that, it was a limping brand anyway. You turn off the old fans, you don't grab the new. And then you take for granted that Disney will hang around and like what you're doing. And the whole thing has collapsed. I find it fascinating. Now, that was the story at the moment, but we'll go down into this. So William Who here, you see, this is the reaction from certain people who've been very positive is this is just so depressing. It does not sound positive. So this is somebody who's quite positive normally. The more Russell talks, the more it seems likely a sort of hiatus is sadly coming. Season 2 needs to perform well to convince the BBC and Disney not to give up. It's such a huge part of my life. I'm very worried. And lads, I think this is what has happened. I think I said in my preface, I think there's been so many trailers. I think I've seen the season. There's been so many trailers and interviews. Loose lips have appeared. And I think people are making mistakes. And the other thing is, it's so blooming obvious. They have shown us so many clips and photographs and talked about it so much. They are desperate. They are desperate because it's not working. I think that's what's really going on here. Because isn't it funny? I always thought less is more. I actually thought when you're marketing, we all know from good old classic Who, you know, you see a hand in episode 1. You see an eye. You have to tune in to part 2. And we knew that as classic Doctor Who fans and kids. We loved that teaser. You know, you might just hear a voice and see a finger on a button. Why are they now showing us the whole damn season?
Yeah, exactly that. And I think you remember, you know, when it RTD1, when it was doing really well. I mean, I still remember the trailer for, you know, season 2 and season 3, and I remember in particular, you know, in season 4 where you'd have the music with the trailer, and you know, it got you buzzing because you were like, you know, you didn't get flooded with loads of stuff, but you know, it got you buzzing, and you like, it got everyone talking because you were really excited about what was to come. And it's like, you know, after we had the Christmas special and they did the trailer for the new series, and you suddenly saw that Cyberman turn around at the end, I was buzzing for months for that until we got to the new season. Now people are just not interested, no matter how much they throw at you. And it's just, you know, it's faded from people's minds so much now. And again, I would also say, guys, and I don't know if you think the same as me on this, but it's got this season 2, every time I hear them talk or speak, and their body language in particular, it's almost like a wake. Whereas season 1, they were cocky, they were arrogant, they were telling people to go and touch grass, they were insulting people, they were like, oh yeah, we're the best thing ever since sliced bread. And what happened? Season 1 tanked, and as we know, they filmed season 2 with season 1. So even if they do reshoots and remounts, they can't fix all of the complete turd that's already in season 2. And so they know this time, and they're more somber. Hang on a minute. Season 1 didn't do well at all for us. We actually are going to, and I think RTD, when he did season 1 and 2 together, he doubled down for season 2 because he was arrogant enough to go, do you know what? I've done that in season 1. I'm going to put even more of that stuff in season 2. And I think now they're like, our plan has failed. Our mission has failed. Our ideology has failed. We've got nothing left to go with. It's done. It's cooked. That's my view on it.
I think if you think, I mean, I did so many saloons last year on the interviews, and so even Bad Wolf themselves, who don't talk like RTD, they were saying things like, we're going to be very global, we're going to be big. I think Julie Gardner said, I want to reach every child across the world. They really had massive ambition. And so And also RTD, remember he used to say stuff like Doctor Who from now on will be on every year. That's why they did the back-to-back, so that they could get it going again. And then Doctor Who was on TV every year. So what's suddenly changed when we're talking about pausing, or there's rumours of axing, or there's rumours of cancellation, or there's rumours that actually Shooty's left, or there's rumours that he left, he had to come back to do a kind of vague regeneration scene. There's RTD's disappeared. And as I keep saying, RTD, for good or bad, he's one of those who can only do one project at a time. He never ever does a Stephen Moffat. Stephen Moffat seems to be logistically much more clever, and he could just about do a bit of Doctor Who and a bit of Sherlock.
Yeah.
But there's no way RTD has got that in his back, his repertoire. So the fact that he's walked to Channel 4 for a little while, I mean, come on. This is at least years we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just the interviews that he does is just, it's almost as if he's talking down the series, and there's no sort of uplift at all in the interviews that he does at the moment.
Yeah. And remember, he hasn't tried every solution possible. They're throwing piles of marketing at it, and I think it's the wrong type of marketing for this. As Super John says here, I would rather see Doctor Who in a 30-minute episode every Saturday, a cliffhanger at the end, as a 4-parter in each series. As I've just added up, Super John, it's quite easy with the maths. There should be about 26 episodes in a season, and then you'll get what you want. And I actually think the kids would see it's on every week. It would get talked about. The cliffhangers, if it scares the kids, will get that talked about. People go, oh yeah, Doctor Who is always on, and I think that's what we're missing. That even if they are successful episodes, they're only on for 2 months now.
Yeah, I think Brendan as well. You're right, and Super John is right on that. I would like to see that kind of format come back, because what I like about it, I'm talking about, what they call the classic era of Doctor Who. Those episodes, it enabled you to build the characters up, and it enabled you to develop the story.
That's right.
Really well. Whereas, New Who, and it's been like that since it came back. There's a lot of episodes where it's like, wham bam, it's like, right, okay, we've got to get in as quick as possible because we've got 45 minutes. It's wrapped up within 10-15 minutes at the end. That's it, on to the next episode. I don't blame them for that, because that's the modern day, and with advertising, that's how they have to do it, especially if they want to go to the US and get the show successful. But I do think that would work, and going back to sort of that 30-minute slot.
You can still do 2 parters, 2 45-minute parters.
We need something. We desperately need something. Now, TARDIS Spider, good old Terry in America there. And it's great to catch you again. Maybe the timing helps. I'm going to a comic. Now, he does the lovely John Pertwee outfits. He also has a Shooty outfit. I'm going to a comic event in 9 days, and I think there'll be no Who presents except for me. Now, remember, this is what people are saying. I'm a teacher. Kids were falling out of love with Doctor Who. People who go to conventions in America, not the massive ones, just, they go to various ones, are finding that interest is falling off. So the more you go big budget on the marketing, but you're trying to sell a dud, it's not working. Now, Lex Kane, you've been very kind to me tonight. I appreciate that. Now, I have got a picture here about the costumes, so I will actually just link it up for a moment, if you don't mind. Let's have a look, just for the sake of what you've just said, because we've got a fair few nice things to talk about. Yeah, not that good. But let's have a look, because there is an issue here. There we are. So, you've said super chat 199. The other thing, Gatwa Who, too many costumes. He hasn't been recognizable. I agree with you, Lex Kane, what you're saying there. This is what he's wearing in season 2. And you just needed a Doctor to be recognizable, to be established. Again, I think they've suffered from hubris. I think they've been over ambitious. I think this Whoniverse and Disney thing has almost distracted RTD from the main issue, and actually maybe the BBC as well. I think all of them have been complicit in actually taking their eye off the ball.
Yeah, I think also, you're right on that, Brendan, and I think I agree with this. All of these different costumes. I mean, personally, season one of what I call Shooty Who, there was no essence of the Doctor in it at all.
No.
The Doctor was absent from that series. And again, I remember RTD doing an interview and basically saying, the reason I've done this is because, I'm paraphrasing, the reason I've done this is because every boy and girl can grow up and they can dress up as the Doctor, by just pulling anything out of a wardrobe. Well,
Anything.
if that's the case, then why are you giving Shooty designer clothes all the time? Kids can't afford your designer clothes like that, and we never had a problem in the past with it.
And why are you giving him a dress? So basically, what's the gender fluid bit?
It just reminds me of Mr. Ben with the bowler hat.
Yeah.
But he goes into the shop, which goes into the TARDIS wardrobe.
The thing is, Mr. Ben only had 12 episodes. This Shooty's ended up believing how many costumes he had. And I have to say, at least you had the shopkeeper at the end who said, right, away, Mr. Ben, you're having too much fun. I need a bit of that. I need somebody to land and saying, Shooty, hop it. I mean, could you have David Tennant come back to be number 16, number 17, number 18? I mean, he's now a dud as well, isn't he? I can't have him back.
That's how desperate they are now, though, Brendan, because, when I heard that talk and I thought I could actually see them attempting to do that, as seeing Tennant as being their big saviour for Doctor Who. But his stock has fallen so massively now that he isn't that saviour. And again, it would just be desperation. And I think...
Do you think he might turn up in the last episode?
Yeah.
Mm.
I still stick into my theory, right, as I said right at the beginning, when in season one you had Shooty talking about the Jinx Monsoon character, and he basically says he isn't the same, he isn't whole because of the bi-generation. For me, straight away, I thought, well, if he's putting that in an episode, he's going to have a remerging at some point or something like that, but you don't know of RTD because he starts something off and doesn't finish it, does he? So unless it's a dog on a police box.
Right. So here we go. I'm just going to let's have a look. Let's get myself now lined up here. Grant G thinks we're just getting a bit too negative, and that is an opinion allowed. He wants the Hoopettes on. I mean, the Hoopettes. I mean, it's past their bedtime. The Hoopettes are around and about. I mean, there he is. The old man's still up. But he's saving himself for Sunday to be RTD because, as you know, he kind of double dips basically. But
I think Greg Smith is right there with what he said about if it was in the right,
yes,
they said it if it was in the right hands, and with half the budget. And I think for me that's where Doctor Who really shows its quality, because as we've seen in the past with Doctor Who, look, Doctor Who was never meant, in my opinion, to be a Star Trek or a Star Wars at that level. It works best when it's a solid script and you haven't quite got the budget, but you stretch it as far as you possibly can. That's what they did from 63 onwards, and you got great stories out of it, But now we don't. We get the opposite. We get a big budget with loads of CGI, but awful scripts.
That's right.
So, let me just show you this for a second, because I mean, Grant G, I know what you're saying, and we will discuss normally, but what I do also want to say is, if you look at this over, and I had this ready for people like Grant G as well to say, I will play devil's advocate and try and be fair. He was saying the same thing 20 years ago, so can we actually read into it? Because actually there wasn't a hiatus in 2005-6. So in 2005, you can see he says, in 20 years, the industry will be full of the kids watching it. They're already writing them now. And now he says the viewers of Newsround now will grow up. And it's a similar trope that he says. So maybe has he just fallen for that patronising?
Can I just ask on that as well? He said that in 2005. Okay. Why hasn't he employed any of them then? Season 1 or season 2?
He will say Juno Dawson. He'll say the one who wrote Rogue.
Yeah.
Inoa Elms. I mean, he'll be telling you he's found all this talent.
Yeah.
Russell T Davies has been writing most of the stories.
Yeah, exactly.
And Stephen Moffat, getting Stephen Moffat. Can you come back again?
Yeah.
Can you come back again? So that was just to try and be fair. Problem being, thanks, I did ask permission. Lee, he did this the other day. I mean, I love how everybody dabbles with these, but yeah, there's the latest one. No new season. Oh,
New season.
oh I know. I think we will find that some Doctor Who fans will find that's actually the emotion they want, which is just relief. They don't want another season of damage. They actually want a rest. And this hiatus nonsense, I mean, it's a word that I'm fascinated by. Oh, yeah, I mean, that is a problematic picture, isn't it? I mean, that really does just kind of mix up the two doctors who might be the two actors who did hit the hiatus. But yes, we all remember when Colin Baker, when, he was messed around and when he quit after it had been rested and the rest didn't work. I mean, let's be honest with you. We have had a hiatus of 18 months before. But the issue was, when they brought it back, maybe they made more mistakes because it didn't really work. It didn't get it on a brilliant even keel afterwards. It went on for another 4 or 5 years, but it was limping.
Well, because the BBC didn't have any faith in it, because they said we'll look at less episodes and we'll put it up against the A-Team on the other side.
Yeah, that's right.
So that did affect the ratings. And of course, the Trial of the Time Lord season wasn't a great idea.
No, it's too meta. Now, Aiton, I can't. It's late at night. I'll just say Aiton, but good to see you. I follow you on Twitter. I'm more upset about the destruction of canon and the law of the show than anything else. And that's my point as well, Aiton. I'm getting to the point where when fans are saying we can't just cancel because you can't rely on it coming back, and I get that because we're easier. But the issue is, if we just say let it keep limping on and let another showrunner or RT just keep going on and changing Sutek, changing Davros, changing a lot of Classic Who, in the end, because we didn't stop it, the show is unrecognizable and it's irretrievable. No showrunner in the world could actually resolve all the issues. You would have to erase some elements of the past to actually bring it back together. So I know what you're saying, Aiton. The more canon that is wrecked or retconned, the more it's making this an impossibility. And actually, the more you can see the arrogance of RTD, which is, this is all mine.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think, you haven't even got to the end of season 2 yet. Unfortunately, I'm not watching it, but I suspect there's going to be some scorched earth attempts before he goes as well with the history of the show, in my opinion. I can see that coming.
Yeah.
He's, from what we've seen of RTD over the last few years, what does he do? He doubles down. He doesn't listen to his audience. He doesn't listen to feedback. It's right, my way or the highway. And
yeah, I know.
That's his mentality. And sadly, I think he's going to do what he can.
I'm just thinking,
Yes.
is this the big announcement we'll get at the end of the series? He keeps saying he's going to get all these leaks and reveals and all the rest of it, and you think, yes.
Doctor Who returns. Who knows?
So what's everybody in the thread thinking then? It's a question I've asked. Is Doctor Who going into hiatus? Is it going on to a pause? He does use the word twice. He mentioned it, not me. And remember, they'd had that BBC statement saying, no, there's nothing to see here. And I just want to remind everybody of TV Land. For example, just yesterday, Michael McIntyre's Big Show and The Wheel were commissioned for 2 more series, right? Just like that. Shall I just say that again?
Yeah.
So when series are doing all right, they just get on with commissioning them. There's no hanging around. There's none of this going Newsround kids. In the future, you might be on The Wheel. None of that.
And Mrs. Brown's Boys as well. That's commissioned again for another series.
That never goes away.
And do you know what? All these people out there that always go, oh, they don't care about overnight viewing figures anymore. It's all about on demand and 7 days and 28 days and 400 years. This is again another example of, if a show is successful on the overnights, it gets renewed.
Yeah.
Doctor Who is not successful overnight. people are uninterested. I don't know what the take up was on iPlayer, but I would imagine that was pretty shocking as well. This is why it's circling the drain, because not only have you alienated the fans that were very loyal and supportive of the show through thick and thin, but you've also alienated the majority of the viewers of the UK because they see it as absolute rubbish.
Well, we've got here, I mean, there's a lot of answers to this, aren't there? And by the way, we're at this hour in England, it's what, 20 to midnight. And I just want to say to people, at this time on Saturday night, you will find that the Sense Free is doing its very first raw first impressions review show of the Robot Revolution. We haven't moved, we're adding. We've got first impressions, 11 p.m. UK time on Saturday night. Then you'll get our usual 6 p.m. formal review where we do all our criteria on Sunday. And you'll find we've got a new show Tuesday, 8 p.m. with the under 35s. Oh, I've been cheeky. Yeah. I've only got a panel of under 35s because they're RTD's children of time, his Tamura people, his golden ones, and I will be getting their reaction. So you can't avoid the Sense Free next week. But as Paddy's Mincher says here, I hate that we are constantly being told about how it's always been woke. Are they blind or straight up delusional? It's so embarrassing to call myself a Who fan. I know there were well-written stories that they may have had a political analogy, but my God, woke it's one of those words that keeps changing anyway. So I just find the whole nonsense when people apply that.
They can't help it, can they? I mean, effectively, they don't actually believe it, but they're altering it because they want it to fit their own narrative. That's what they always do, and it's it's the same argument they've tried with Star Trek, and saying, "Oh, the original series was always woke," and no, it wasn't. But you crack on if you want to talk nonsense.
Well, you can see people. I mean, I can see what Super John's saying. I have tried to hold on to every episode, even though I haven't enjoyed them, because I know, like being a football fan, you have bad managers, good teams, bad teams. You stick with them. But there is a point, because this is a piece of fiction that's gone on for a long time, that I think we all have to draw a line in the sand. And at some point we have to say, yeah, that's the cutoff. And that's where you can build a series from then on. I am warming to that idea, Super John. I really am.
Yeah. Well, the cutoff will be the pause, and then they'll rest it for a few years and then bring it back with a completely different reboot.
Yeah, and I think I've talked to quite a few people, and I think that I know that they've sort of said to me that even if they pause it for a few years and they don't retcon Jodie Whittaker onwards, they'll still be out. And the reason that they're saying that is because it's very common. You could see them almost trying to just ignore and not even mention the Jodie and Ncuti eras and just try and sweep it under the carpet. But a lot of people will still remember, and they do, and they'll just be like, "No, I can't get behind it." When you're still doing that, you're still recognizing them, you've still got merchandise coming out, you've still got calendars coming out with their faces on the calendars. It's something that people don't want to see.
Now, can I sorry, Jeremy, I'll bring you in, don't worry, but I just want to throw this in as well to the mix. So we've got the news of the hiatus possible from the mouth of you-know-who. But only yesterday, we had this coming up. The figures for Doctor Who on BBC iPlayer are ferocious. For the whole brand of Doctor Who, there was over 70 million viewer hours in 2024. It's one of the top 5 brands on iPlayer, which is one of the biggest streaming platforms in Great Britain. So can you square the circle here, Jeremy? We've got fans who are saying, I would like it to rest at least. I want it to be cancelled. I want us to retreat and go back to a certain period and just fix it with a new showrunner, blah, 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 blah. And then on BBC iPlayer, the BBC are enjoying telling us how big Doctor Who is so successful.
Right. So what does that tell the BBC? That it tells the BBC that they need to start funding it themselves and not rely on Disney and get cracking and produce season 3.
Yeah.
Basically. If that's what they believe, and that's correct, what they've said, but obviously I'd probably dispute some of those figures. I would say, well, what portion of of it is successful. Is it the classic Doctor Who episodes or New Who?
Yeah, exactly that. I was going to say the same thing. Is that a quote directly from the BBC then? You know,
Yeah, I mean, they do this every year. They tell us how much it makes for Cardiff. They've done that one recently with the annual report, and they've also been saying in that annual report how BBC iPlayer is such a phenomenal brand.
Well, if it's a phenomenal brand, why are we where we are at the moment?
Yeah.
With the producer saying it could be on pause, it might not come back. I don't know. You know what I mean?
This is where we are with streaming services these days, where they have their own internal metrics. It's not like, back in the old traditional days where that data or viewing figures and everything was readily available. Now you've got their own streaming services. They keep that locked behind closed doors, and they can spin out whatever narrative they want. Disney Plus is another example of it. They constantly say that it's a very, very successful app, and it's getting record viewers, and yet it's billions and billions of dollars in debt, and it has been since day one, and the subscriber rates are dropping like a stone. So it's when I see things like this, you always want to say to them, well, okay, prove the evidence of it. Where's the data set? Where's that coming from?
The other thing is, Jeremy, and Anthony Parkinson's mentioning it, and so is Paul Stenterford. BBC iPlayer, if for Doctor Who, it's back to 63. It's the classics. So are they actually saying that it's the classic Who that's pulling it in? Because I can only go on what I'm wanting to watch. And I do understand that sometimes there's a new Who episode that was all right. But I go to see a scene. My example would be, and it's the way things are written nowadays, the Wham Bam Thank You Man, Utopia. I have gone back, not to watch the whole episode, which I find, I go back to see the Derek Jacobi reveal. Because I think the RTD era is all about little moments. And notice season 2, they say, oh, there's loads of Easter eggs, there's loads of reveals. Are there any good stories? Because I'm not going to watch probably any of this era again, but I might watch a moment, a 20-second moment. That's it.
But with the Utopia, it was a gradual build-up to the crescendo, which was the reveal of the Master.
And a first-class actor as well to playing that in Jacobi.
Yeah. But you see, that's when the show was made very well. So it carried you along, even in the poorer episodes. It was still exciting to watch because you knew that there would be another good episode coming along, but not in the last 7 years.
I think you're right, Jeremy. I mean, you've made me think there on a point is, look, a lot of people I've spoken to, they say they weren't big fans of the Capaldi era, but they actually say to me, but there were some naff stories, but by heck didn't Capaldi lift it and raise it because of the quality of his acting. And that's another thing that's lacking now, because you've had it with Jodie and you've had it with Ncuti. They don't have the range of the actors that came before them to raise it, so even if it's a subpar script, you always used to see what I call a Doctor moment. There would be something in the episode and you think, oh, that's really good, but it's from what I saw of season 1, it's pretty much all one note and crying. That was pretty much season 1 of Ncuti Who.
Well, it's fascinating. There's a few different things being said in the thread, and people are starting to talk about Blu-ray collections and other announcements. But I find this such bad timing. Number one, the marketing has been dire. 2, we have hit a kind of 20th anniversary of the Eccleston launch, and we've just had the Blu-ray collection of season 7. And actually, if you look at those events, I think that's really unfortunate for the present series, because you know which one would fail in comparison.
Absolutely.
And that is, I think, the really dangerous thing for all of this. Now, of course, while we're talking about this, it was only February. Now, you see, this is it. It was poo-pooed at the time, wasn't it? Doctor Who facing axe as lead star quits. blah, blah, blah. And we've been through this once before. And the BBC shot it down and people said, oh, no, this isn't happening. You did a stream on this as well on Sci-Fi Chronicles 79, didn't you? They really pushed back on it. But the point is, here we are again only 2 months later, talking about not an axing, not a cancellation, but a long pause. I mean, come on. It's the same thing.
Spin.
Well, we'll know it's true when we get the regeneration story at the end of season 2.
Yeah.
We'll know that Nakuti's left.
And again, it was. I actually think this time round, there always used to be a buzz for a regeneration story. Whether you were extremely emotional because your favorite Doctor was going and a new one was stepping in, and you were curious about the new one stepping in. I don't think people are remotely fussed about what happens to this one. I think it's just a case of it's get him off. Next. And it'll go black screen, won't it? It's going to go black screen now.
I think it would actually help with the ratings if they actually said, yes, Nakuti is leaving, this is the last episode, and people will tune in. Yeah, people will tune in just to see it.
Well, Jeremy, you're reading Sir C's mind. Doctor Who is dead, buddy. But look on the bright side. Doctor Who is dead. I mean, I think I'd be gutted just because it's my favourite show. But I've been gutted in everything I've watched as well. So I've got to just kind of work out here.
The reality, though, is even if the show is taken off the air, you've still got the Doctor Who magazine, you've still got Big Finish audios, and you've still got the toys, etc., etc.
But
So
Jeremy, you have mentioned the magazine twice now, and loads of people are not subscribing to that anymore either because they think it's gone downhill.
And I feel...
Yeah, I agree.
And again, guys, when you talk about Doctor Who magazine, I talk about Big Finish with this as well. And it's like, sadly, from the top down, it's been pushed to infiltrate what used to be fantastic things. I mean, I always got Doctor Who magazine. I always got Big Finish, and I adored both of them. And there was nothing better than getting that Doctor Who magazine through and the Big Finish through, on a regular basis and reading it. But now it's been infiltrated, and they do the LGBTQ covers and all of that.
That's what I was going to say, John. When you used to get the Doctor Who magazine when you were younger, did they used to put it in a brown paper bag for you?
Yeah.
No, they didn't. They didn't, because it was just something that the kids bought. We weren't.
It wasn't off the top shelf.
No. Whereas now, and I have to say, when I read it as a young teenager, I didn't get any sex in it. No. I didn't get anything about gender. I didn't get anything about all that. I got Doctor Who. Now, if you open it, it's all about this gender bending, gender fluid. It's like, oh, do me a favor.
Non-binary.
You're a geeky teenage kid getting your Doctor Who fix. Yeah. You don't want surely to be reading about all that.
And it's like, like I say, I saw it a few weeks ago and I just laughed it off as complete nonsense. But one of them that I think writes novels or had written for Who magazine basically said, oh, how Doctor Who growing up turned me to be non-binary and all of that. And it's like, for crying out loud, sort yourself out, will you? I didn't get my first Doctor Who magazine with Pertwee and Bessie on the cover. And think, oh yeah, now I know I'm heterosexual, hetero, it's absolute nonsense, all of this. And again, it's pushed from the top and it's pushed for a minority. Yeah.
And it's please let the show be what the show always was. It never was about all that stuff. I've put Atom up. Write to me, Atom. My Gmail, because if you want to come on to explain a theory, I'll have you on. Dalek Lives Matters. It was just about irretrievable after the Jodie Chibbs era. Could have just been a low point, but they had to go and do this. It is unbelievable. Yeah. I am actually quite stunned that RTD didn't see how much it was a lame duck, and he had to rescue and salvage it with some classic kind of storylines and formats. I'm quite shocked that he decided to do very different stuff. One of the many trailers I saw today, lovely Anita Dobson playing Mrs. Flood, broke the fourth wall again. if you're not taking the series seriously, it, breaking the fourth wall to me is so dangerous, because mainstream viewers will go, what, why is this not a show? Is this not a story? What's going on?
I think one I was going to say to you, they don't take it seriously. But one thing I felt, and this is my own personal view on it, when I watched season 1 of Shooty Who, I from watching it, I felt to myself, you know what? I can't even imagine the Daleks and Cybermen existing in this universe that they've created now, because it's like night and day. It really is. It's like, you know, I couldn't see the Daleks turning up, you know, and being taken as a serious threat, you know, with, you know, a twerking doctor. You know, it just they just don't go together, do they?
Do you remember that old outtake where you had the Cybermen dancing in the park like that?
Yeah.
I just wondered. I think, are they going to have dancing Cybermen?
Yeah.
We've had police. We've had police at Gay Mardi, you know, Gay Pride. So you could actually have Cybermen doing. No, sorry,
non-binary as well. Yeah, that's going to happen.
Well, you've got I mean, I just want to remind everybody on these, you know, Grant G, I'm being so optimistic, aren't I? Because I'm actually replicating his words. Season 2, the show in 2025 is going to be bigger. I mean, what's the size thing? Does he mean in views? Does he? And madder, because a madder show might actually mean less views. Darker, well, I approve of that. Taking wilder swings than ever. I don't know what the hell that means. I am confident that Doctor Who is forever. The future is bright. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean,
Doctor Who will be forever. It'll be still going on when we're long gone, I think.
Well, talking about long gone, my 2 other panelists, they do work, and so they need to go, and I will just kind of tidy up here and talk to various people in the thread for a little while, and then I'll go as well. I'm just a saddo. But thank you two for coming on.
You're welcome.
I'm full of good news, as you know. But Sci-Fi Chronicles 79, that's John. I'll see you again, John. See you.
Yeah, take care. See you, everyone.
All right. And obviously, Jeremy, thank you very much. I feel like Brian the Snail, or is it Zebedee, used to say it's time for bed.
Up the Wooden Hill to Bedfordshire. That's where I'm going now.
Anyway, good night. See ya.
Ta-ta.
So there you go. You're stuck with me now, everybody. Can you cope with that? Maybe not that size. Let's get it right. Yeah. So what do you actually all think in the thread then? Is this a load of hype? Is he just misspeaking? Let's get back to the brass tacks of this right at the beginning, when he actually said what he said, because I actually do think, take a look. Sometimes there might be a pause, and during that pause, the viewers of Newsround now will grow up for a few years and start writing stories, and they'll bring it back. So I have faith that this will survive, because I'm living proof of it. No good idea ever dies. He was asked about season 3, and he answers like that. So what's everybody thinking in the thread? Is this just a mistake? Remember, it's been edited out now. It's been taken away. So was it a mistake, or are we joining a lot of tea leaves together, so to speak, and we're actually saying, no, there is a problem? We've all heard different rumors, haven't we? We've all heard various stories. What's everybody thinking? Okay. Sean, sticking with us at the moment. This good idea has died. Yeah, this era was not a good idea. That's the essence of it. Breaking the fourth wall, song and dance routines. Remember, he's done this all the way through. The Goblin song. We then had there's always a twist at the end, you know, and we know there's going to be something surely in that Eurovision one. I just think that is the problem here, which is his great idea was to get down with the kids, to make it more about certain identity issues, to talk about mental health, to have a doctor who's very emotional. I've got all the interviews here, and when Sean comes on my under 35s panel, when we talk, you know, I asked them to review as the golden children of RTD, his chosen target audience. I'm going to have fun because I've got all his statements of what he promised Doctor Who was about. And is he delivering? And that's what I'm really going to be talking about on that review. So remember, Raw review at 11 p.m. on Saturday night. Sunday night at 6 is our marking of it, the 3 criteria, the burning issues. Oh my God, what a panel I've got. And then, of course, on Tuesday night again. But what's everybody's thoughts, as I said, about this? Is it the end? Is it a pause? Or is it just a mistake? Him talking stuff. Lee Smith reckons it's done and dusted. Ezra, it's done. Is it making you feel good saying that? You know, that's what I mean. I'm torn because it's my show. The Mecronon hiatus isn't good enough. If they don't retcon it, there's no point resting it. That was the point I was making when I compared it to the Colin Baker era, which is if you you say, right, now let me get this right. Here's my friend Divan and Dragon. Divan and Dragon, we have been discussing the hiatus. Because everybody's thinking, oh, Brendan, we've heard what you've said. I should say to you, Christian, what are your thoughts? You've seen the video. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I've been listening on the drive home from school, and I think that everyone's reading the tea leaves accurately. The show is going on hiatus, and RTD was not supposed to let slip that information, hence it being edited out later on. Yeah, he does say good ideas don't ever really die, but as they've said in the chat, this wasn't a good idea. It's dying. It's that simple. And so what we're probably going to see is a hiatus that lasts 5 years, probably, before some new team comes in. And I tend to agree with you. I'm almost of the mind that you have to start fresh because the damage is so bad. The way you need to retcon it is so convoluted and time intensive.
Yeah, we did a show. In fact, one of the very first shows when I was referencing some of your theories was about salvaging Doctor Who. And we did that last end of summer. But as Dalek Lives Matters here shows with an example, my prediction for season 2 is they'll trash the legacy of Unit from good to evil. And, you know, it's as if all the furniture of Doctor Who, RTD, is tweaking, vandalizing, retconning. Let me just say again, Davros, the regeneration, the sledgehammer TARDIS, okay, Sutek, I could go on. The Doctor himself has been changed. So this is the big argument, isn't it? Which is, how much do we allow this to limp on? Because there is no showrunner of that amount of talent who could actually respect the whole series in its entirety and actually make any cohesive sense in a narrative.
I tend to agree. My guess is if it comes back, as we've often talked about, you're going to come in with an unnumbered Doctor.
Yes.
No direct connection. If it is successful, if it runs, say, 5 years and it's epically a hit, they may come back and do a tertiary, what I call crossover, and they'll encounter Matt Smith from this alternate universe, this alternate timeline, and that'll be their tacit acknowledgement that historically, yes, we know these years of Doctor Who actually were produced, but we're still going to stay in this new universe. And beyond that particular crossover, they'll never have to go back and do it again. That's my theory, at least. Now, sometimes an alternate universe does take off. If anyone in the chat is familiar with Star Trek, they did their mirror universe, which was a big hit. And Deep Space Nine, during its run, actually expanded on it 1 or 2 episodes a season during that 7-year cycle. But that doesn't happen often.
I'm just looking at what people are saying here. Like Rose, good to see you. Rose Kirby. This is going to be my 50 days wake for Doctor Who. And this time I can say farewell and goodbye. Because I have to say, let's just say he said pause twice and he meant there's going to be a pause, a production pause because of logistics. But it's a very convenient moment for the BBC to go, hold on a minute. Now let's have some executive meetings when we actually discuss everything. Because the executives will do this. They'll go, are we happy with our association with Bad Wolf? Are we happy with our association with Disney? Are we happy with our association with the Shooty Doctor? Are we happy with our association with RTD? Come on, every executive worth their salt will go, if there's a pause, we discuss everything. And the snag is, for RTD, if they discuss everything, they will certainly change things. The next snag for Doctor Who fans is, they may say, but it's been limping for a while. We tried RTD, we tried money, we tried a global streamer. We have tried many options. The series has died. Don't bring it back.
I think that's very fair. There is one thing, though, that they haven't really tried in the last 8 years. Good storytelling.
Yeah,
now,
it's a sitting
they
duck.
could try that. It's a novel approach. Let's tell some good stories. Let's have a new doctor who's charismatic and actually carries gravitas and can present the character as we know it. Let's try something that's true to classic canon and true to the tone of the show. Let's try, I don't know, some cliffhangers and some extended stories. What a novel idea. That might actually make a difference.
What about, here's a genius idea. In season 2, episode 1, Christian, in the Robot Revolution, do you know what? They're going to mention a version of maybe toxic masculinity. That might be an interesting story. And AI is going to be kind of confusing Belinda Chandra. So there you go. I mean, he's on trend, isn't he? He's going to have a bit of a skit on AI. He's going to make some references to toxic masculinity. This is, as some people say, this is just like 1973 Doctor Who Green Death. It's right. It's reflecting what's going on. So, Christian, there's a good story for you.
Well, it makes me laugh because, interestingly enough, people say these are always woke. Well, you and I know there's a difference between being progressive and being woke. Woke means you've gone over the top, kind of like jumping the shark in a desperate bid for ratings. And you could take the idea of touching on a perception of what toxic masculinity is and make some interesting social commentary, touching on the implications of AI and having a serious examination of an issue that's of current concern to the public. The problem is the tone, the message that he's going to push, that you know he's going to push, is definitely designed to antagonize the majority of the viewers that are left. So I keep coming back to, there's a kernel of a story in there. Give it to me. Let me create the story for you. I'll present you with a workable narrative.
Yeah.
But RTD is going to take all of these wonderful ideas that could be done properly, and he is going to scupper them, and he is going to tank the show along with that.
Well, what about this one, Christian? Atom, if you're still there, just you know how to contact me. Either DM me on Twitter or send me a Gmail, because he says he's got an idea. It's quite easy to fix Doctor Who. And he said he's got a bigger theory as well. I'll give it to you in 2 words. Divergent universe. That exists in canon already. So as I come to you, Christian, on that as a thought process, please, Atom, I know you've got a more developed theory and you'd like to come on to explain it. Me and Christian would talk to you about it in a show easily. But Christian, this whole divergent universe, I have question marks on my head. I'm actually getting a bit bored of E-Space, parallel universes, season 2 with Rose. I'm getting a little bit, and this fantasy hocus pocus. I don't know if I've had enough of it.
I say you're right. And Atom's right. You're right in that if you're going to deal with an alternate universe, you need to do it sparingly. If you do it too much, you overuse a good thing and you spoil it. However, if you're trying to do what we've discussed before, which is maintain what I call conventional continuity, you have to find a way to acknowledge that, yes, there's this tangent woke universe that the audience has experienced, but we're going on a different path. We're going into the proper Who universe, and we're going to tell stories there. So the parallel or tangent universe works if you're trying to maintain continuity, but still leave it open-ended to go in the right direction. After that, you're done. You don't go back to it. You don't have to refer to it. It's a strategy of necessity because of where the universe is right now. Of course, you can always, again, start from scratch. But
well, Daryl Joyce here, who, as you know, we had on recently, and please, honestly, Daryl Joyce was a gift. He's a gift with his talent. We all know from his calendars and his books, but also he has a lot of good ideas, and we'll have Daryl on again if he's got time. But yeah, look at our Sunday show at 8 o'clock, everybody. He had a 2-minute package of what Doctor Who could look like. But he says it needs to end so that new, more inventive teams can go back to basics and make the thing work. He has no idea why the BBC can't figure this out, but too many kooks in the executive position, I suspect. I'm stunned. It's a bit like when I'm a teacher, and we used to have a couple of senior teachers, a head teacher and one deputy, and suddenly there's all these assistant head teachers. I notice in TV, you've now got the showrunner, but then you've got about 4 executive producers. Now remember, JNT, Verity Lambert, were just the producer, and now we have 4 executive producers and a showrunner on top. It's the usual top heavy. The NHS is the same. All these top heavy managers, and actually for all these top well-paid executives, we get a dearth of good story writing. We tank the ratings. We get too much marketing. So in the end, it's not marketing, it's shouting at us. It's going, here's another clip, here's another clip, here's another clip, here's another interview. And you're going, in the end, shut up. Just let the show speak for itself. So I know what you mean, Daryl, by saying just get somebody else in. And they might carve it up. They might butcher some bits and say, well, that's not going to fit. Ship and Shaw, good to see you. This is so different to the wilderness years. I agree. There was so much goodwill then, especially after the renaissance of season 26. Now, apart from a few, weirdos, no one cares. I do think if they announced tomorrow that it was axed or something, apart from, you lament it's your show, I think a lot of us would be relieved, actually, Christian.
Oh, yes. I think a lot of people would be relieved. It's actually painful to consider, yes, I've got to go through this and I've got to watch 8 highly likely miserable installments in the continuity of the show. And every one of those that we watch sticks in our minds. Here's another layer of trash, another layer of poison on top of something that was once such a gem, and that we're going to have to get beyond once we've finished reviewing them. And here's the big question. You're going to go back and watch some of the classic Who episodes. You may even go back and watch some of the new Who episodes pre-Chibnall. How many people are going to bother going back to the Whittaker and Gatwa era episodes just for fun, just as a guilty pleasure? Oh, that was a great episode. I want to plug it on and watch it. How many?
No, I mean, this is and this is the thing that Problem Bean's hinting at. But basically, we're all relieved if there's probably going to be no new season, because, to be honest, it hasn't felt like Doctor Who. There's an element where it's destroying what Doctor Who was. We're also getting told it's not for you, clear off, we don't like your sort, you're a bunch of bigots. I mean, to be honest, it's more than distasteful how they speak to fans who actually readily invest in this program and actually were part of the whole Wilderness Years Part 1. I mean, you're almost willing it to fail because of the anger and resentment that's been created by our showrunner and our lead actor. And this has happened, remember, Chibnall was the same, Jodie Whittaker was the same. This has gone on for quite a while now. There seems to be a dislocation between the people making the show and the fans. There seems to be this widening chasm, this misunderstanding. And I've never known a TV show, please tell me, Christian, is there another TV show you're aware of where the producers and the lead actor says, we're aiming for this type of viewer, not this viewer. We don't want those viewers. We want this type of viewer. I thought they just made TV.
They used to, but you are absolutely correct. You know, I follow a lot of popular entertainment beyond Doctor Who. And although there's been a push to, quote, appeal to a new generation of viewers, a different audience, I've never heard it as blatant, as aggressive, or as dismissive of classic fans as I've seen it with Doctor Who. I've not seen that with Star Wars. I've not seen that with Star Trek. I don't like what they've done, but I've not seen this level of virtual vitriol come from the creatives and spewed in the direction of the very fans that gave this intellectual property life. I've never seen that before.
But that has to be down to a version of arrogance or actual hatred of the people they're making the show for. And I have to say, me and John Daly were discussing this earlier, and John Daly was saying that he used to avoid fandom in the 80s and 70s, maybe the 80s, I think he's meaning, when you always bumped into, does everyone in the thread remember this? There's always a fan that if you're talking or you go to an event or you come across another Doctor Who fan, you know, the type who always say, but this is, I know somebody, it's my show. There's always one who actually makes it sound as though it's all about them. And then you avoid those types of people. And as John Daly said, the trouble is the person who now runs the show is that very fan who says, it's mine and it's not yours. And so that fan you used to avoid in the 80s has now actually become the actual blooming showrunner.
Frightening. But I would say that RTD suffers from something that I call hubris. Not hubris, hubris. WHOBRIS. He's definitely suffering from a sense of entitlement and arrogance connected to his perceived ownership of the entire property and the right to do with it what he wills. That's unacceptable to me.
Yeah. So, and yeah, that's what I mean. If a show dies, if a show's paused, most people will go, oh, that's a shame. I used to enjoy watching it, blah, blah, blah. But because there's been so much animosity and backlash and vitriol, I think that we might, it's like dancing on somebody's grave. You might actually go, I'm actually going to be happy about this. The Peter Venkman fan site, hello, it's like putting the Doctor in a cast, even though his healing ability is different from ours, and I insist on bashing the extremity every 10 minutes just because I use the analogy, don't I, Christian, that it's like you've got a lame dog. You don't know whether to put it down. The family discusses it. You decide when's your red line that, you know, if you see that dog doing that, or if it feels too cruel, that you have to make that horrible decision. I feel like fans are going through this now. We're either going through bereavement early, we're going through a kind of grief process, and we're trying to work out, do we actually voluntarily put this program down? Or do we hope for the best that tomorrow morning we wake up and the dog walks a bit better and episode 1's okay? I feel as though we are really acting like that. And I get it.
No, for me, I started to feel I would have been wavering in the last year of Capaldi's run. And I would have winced when we saw the Time Lord regenerate into a woman, because we knew what that would presage. But if it were standalone and it didn't continue, okay, we'll ride this out. And then we got the final year with Capaldi, and it was suffering. But you're thinking, okay, we're kind of hemming and hawing. We're moving back and forth over this red line. We're kind of dancing on it. And then we get Jodie Whittaker. And we're thinking, okay, can we tolerate this? This isn't really working for me, all the way up until we get the Timeless Children. And there's your total canonical disruption. And after that, everything has been kind of water under the bridge. We know that the show died really with that episode. And we keep hoping beyond hope that somehow a miracle will occur and we'll see a string of episodes and a level of continuity that bring the show back to life. But every single time we watch the following episode, it's just a little bit worse than the one that came before. I mean, how many little bit worses do we get before there's no quality left to look at all?
Exactly. And if you love the show, I'll stick with this analogy for a tiny bit more, and I'll leave it alone. But people are saying leave. You know that the dog's had its day, and then Brendan, side quest nerd says leave K9 out of it. But yeah, I know. Sorry. It's very distasteful. This. But you know when and actually we go through this with human beings as well if they've got dementia and stuff like that. The analogy's a harsh one, it's horrible, which is when it's a dog or something like that, and you know they're going through a long process of pain and everything, and you're keeping them alive, you're kind of almost wrecking and ruining the memories, the good memories, by how long this goes on for. So if I hold that analogy together, Christian, us Doctor Who fans who are saying, no, you can't cancel it, you can't risk it. In the end, we're going to just erase all our good memories of Doctor Who, because I do struggle, Christian, even now with Genesis of the Daleks, because I love it, but when I put it on, I'm dreading what they're going to do to Davros. So basically, the present series is hurting my enjoyment now of the good memories.
It is. One of the worst things that can happen with a show, and these are kind of tangential comparisons, but if you look at what they call must-watch TV from the last decade, you'd have some shows that would come to an epic conclusion that was very satisfying. And then you'd have some that came to an ending that totally disrupted everything that came before and disappointed the audience horribly. And those finales, those conclusions, disrupt their capacity to go back and enjoy the previous episodes that had really kept them going for years.
Yeah.
And Doctor Who is suffering from the same thing. Every added episode we get, which is virtually toxic, makes it harder to enjoy the classic era show that we love. And we come more and more to associate it with negativity, not the positive qualities that it once brought to us. Like I've mentioned before, my students don't watch it. My students don't even know what it is. It's only been in America 10 years since it was at a peak.
We see this, but this is it. I actually do think it's quite clear now that RTD, Bad Wolf, etc. are not actually touching base. They don't understand anymore, because if they really had understand that actually it was limping under Chibnall, and or the arrogance was, I can bring it back, I can save it, just like that. Now, if they really did see that it was in a weak position, they would have actually thought of a few different tactics that they weren't, that they haven't presented us with. I do think you can't just say, let's just do another repeat cycle of 2005. That formula's gone now. You can't just do that again. You can't retread the same plots. You can't do another Rose 19-year-old character. You can't do it. You need to do something different. I would have suggested that when RTD2, when he came back before the specials, instead of just doing rinse and repeat, he should have said, I wonder if this is the time to go episodic. I wonder if this is the time when actually Doctor Who needs to sit on the TV landscape for half a year. Therefore, we need to half the duration of the episodes and stretch that budget out longer. We need to do things differently. In other words, you can't just kind of, scam it at RTD and do exactly what you did before, whether it worked or not. It's a different TV landscape. The fans are now worn down. Things have been bruising. You need to use a different tactic. And he's not been insightful. He's not been intuitive. He's not been listening. And therefore, he has presented the same old, which is going to be, I think, an absolute disaster, Christian.
Oh, I totally concur. If what he's doing hasn't worked, try something that he has not done before. Or more importantly, the BBC needs to try something that they haven't tried in the last 20 years, which is no RTD, no Moffat, no Chibnall. Go and find fresh creatives to come and bring it back to what it should be. They'll try something new. I would theorize that if they were able to woo Moffat back, absent RTD, he'd make a lot of the same beats and a lot of the same mistakes that we saw even during his run. And God help us if they decided to tap Chibnall to come back.
Well, talking about Chibnall, and you see, this is fascinating, and I hope people do see that the Sense Sphere do allow different opinions, and we want debate. Side quest nerd, actually, to be fair, besides the Timeless Children, Jodie's run didn't do any damage to Doctor Who. In fact, some episodes felt very classic. Ashad was terrific and a superb new villain. The last new villain, I feel. And I think that's a fair point. I will be honest, because we do all this Timeless Children. The trouble is with Timeless Children is it hit origin story. It hit the Cyber Lords. It wrecked them. It wrecked Gallifrey, the Doctor, and the Cybermen all in one blow. That was the blooming problem with it. But I take your point, SideQuest nerd, that actually, and I will, oh God, I'm going to say this out loud. I will give credit a bit to Chibnall that he did say in his first season he didn't want to kind of plunder the past. He wanted to push forward. And I think that was laudable. So I get what you're saying, SideQuest nerd. I think RTD's been more of a cheat, to be quite honest. But
yeah. I think you're making a very fair assessment. Again, I keep saying, even some of the worst stories, if you take the kernel of what they have and tailor it slightly differently, you can create some strong stories out of it. And one of the problems with Jodie Whittaker's era is that people found the stories, the way they were executed, boring, or they found her interpretation of the Doctor uncompelling. So was there potential? I'd say possibly there was some potential there to play with. It's just that we never witnessed it well executed.
Well, Lily Shambles is in a shock because she didn't realize we were live. What I will say to you, Lily, is on at 11 p.m. UK time on Saturday night for the next 8 weeks, we will be very live, and Christian will be one of the panelists where we give a raw first impressions of each of the episodes, and then our more considered opinion with the marking criteria and with the burning issues. And with, oh God, I'm dying to do the scores on the sarcophagus. That'll all be Sunday night at 6. And then I've got Sean and others who are in the thread now, actually, are under 35s. How dare they? And they're RTD's chosen children of time. They're the tomorrow people, and I'm going to get them on, but it's going to be a very sarky, cheeky version of a review. So please, there's a lot of fun ahead. But yes, Lily, we're live, and we'll be live on Saturday night at this very time, won't we, Christian?
Oh, yes.
Saying how wonderful we received the Robot Revolution.
Oh, my gosh.
I know. And Sonny will be with us as well. So Sonny at this time in 2 days. So this is going to be fascinating. Now, we've got Mark Milford here. Good to see you. In Twice Upon a Time. God, that feels like a long time ago. The first Doctor's presence paves the way for the 12th Doctor's regeneration. Without the meeting, that wasn't canon, the female regeneration 15th likely doesn't happen. I know. Oh, God. There's maybe ways around this, I understand. Side quest nerd, my 6-year-old son absolutely loved Jodie's run. He cried when she went. He didn't watch any more after that. I wish I hadn't too. A few people were saying it wasn't their era and people fell out of love with the Jodie era, but then there are those who thought it was good. Peter Harrington, yes, I mean, he's here. He's the only one awake. And we do have a brand new series with a different puppet who's going to bring the news. But, I mean, I should ask you, you're getting ready for the show on Sunday, aren't you, when you're going to be RTD? He does a good voice, doesn't he, of RTD? You're a very good impersonator, you know, Walkie. Very good he is. Actually, look at him. He's he's like the Doctor Who series. He's tired. He's off he goes to bed. There you go. You see, there you go. They are about. So I know Lee Smith, the whippersnappers. I wonder what their opinion will be. The under 35s, the target audience, because we're has-beens, you know, Christian. We're dinosaurs.
We are dinosaurs. You know, I fully admit it. I'm a boomer. You know.
Oh, well, Lily's excited now. She's going to get the beers in. I think that's the best way to actually watch me on these things is out of it. Haven't had a lot to drink. I have to say, I might have had a lot to drink after watching the Robot Revolution. Anyway, we're gonna have fun, aren't we? Peter Harrington, do I have a John Craven one? I mean, honestly, I mean, you know, I mean, they're getting naughty. Why do my threads always end up being like a class? And Christian understands this very well. They start misbehaving like a class. Very, very bad. But you know.
Lee said what? Again? Problem being, you are the problem. I am the solution. I am the future, don't.
There you go. Sorry, you asked for the hoop. Did that make any sense? I don't know. But anyway.
It makes more sense than the stuff we've seen coming out of Bad Wolf Studios for a while.
Do you know what? I just can't. If people knew I have so many ideas for the Hoopettes to do, and I've got all the video footage because we've already done it, of them, the Bad Wolf headquarters. And we've got a Dalek Armageddon story going along, and we've got Jane Ranter, we've got RTD, we've got Philip Cullen's Hull. There's a bit of a word pun going, and there's loads of stuff going on, and I'm dying to do it. It's just time. We've even got Tales of the TARDIS within that, where the TARDIS is just a blue, fluffy 70s style toilet, and it makes a flushing, wheezing sound in the vortex. We're trying to get ready, but it won't be for the be a bit later. But the Hoopettes are going to be causing mayhem. Now, we've got somebody here who's pushing back on us, and I always like that. I mean, as teachers we like debate, don't we, Christian? Mm-hmm. It's not a tired series. The problem with Doctor Who is that it's been written and shown, run by people who don't love or understand it. I think I will say to you, Dido Shaggins, is this is I actually do think they're bored with the Doctor's character, and that's why you get the companion arcs taking over. You get the Empire of Death finished early, didn't it? And then we ended up just in a soap opera scene in a coffee shop, waiting to see your mother. You know, this wasn't Doctor Who. I actually think they're bored of the character of the Doctor, which is why he's had to be so different, written so different, so lightly, so pathetically. I think that's the problem, Christian.
I think that's very much the case. In defense of those that support the show still and enjoyed Jodie Whittaker's run, I won't gainsay their appreciation for it. Everyone has different tastes. What you have to do is ask yourself, are you joined by the same volume of viewers that you watched the show with a decade prior? Or are you kind of alone in a field? Has everyone abandoned it? And therein is your measurement. If I love something and no one else does, there's not going to be enough energy for another creative to add to it for my enjoyment, because more than just myself needs to be watching it. People need to enjoy it in large numbers, especially with a TV show. And that's something that they don't have the ability to generate now.
Yeah.
The show is tired, I think, or rather, they are tired of working with the Doctor, and they do go to the companions for an arc. The problem is when you go to the companion for the arc, you very often give the companions the agency. But the Doctor is the focus of the show. The Doctor is supposed to be the character that has agency and drives the narratives, and they aren't doing that.
Well, Mark Milford, good. Mark, we're thinking the same, Christian here. Brendan, how about the puppets doing Bad Wolf Studios like Dallas, RTD's J.R. Ewing? Mark, you know, as Dallas did the 3 split screen, I've been working on that sort of thing. I wanted to do a jazzy 80s kind of start where Bad Wolf headquarters is a bit like, you know, the Ewing's headquarters in Dallas. And of course, Christian knows all about Dallas. So, yeah, so yes, I think we're thinking the same. And they're like these top executives, and a bit like the oil baron's ball. Instead of that, you've got Bad Wolf having a party and they're all slagging each other off going, RTD, doesn't he look tired? And then Jane Ranter's got... we've got all these plans. It's just getting it together. But hopefully you'll stick with us, everybody. But Mark, yes, if you got any other... If you run a script for us, Mark, because honestly, it's finding the time in the day. Yes, what have you seen of the robot revolution that actually gives you hope, Christian?
Well, okay, they threw some money at it. Some of the images look pretty. I'm going to give it that. Some of the images actually look pretty. Yeah, I'm having a hard time thinking of anything substantive that it gives me with.
Right. Well, if I'm just getting stuff together to advertise for people, but I thought the rocket looked cartoon-esque. I thought the robots look like, we've all said Husbands of River Song, the robots there.
Mm-hmm.
They look like a movie that's just been advertised, or was it a movie, or was it a computer game? And it's just, we've gone a bit retro silly. The only way I'd allow it is if this whole nonsense season and season 1 is this fantasy thing where we're in some sort of parallel cartoon universe. You see, a lot of the trailers had the Doctor and Belinda on The Apprentice, landing in Gladiators, landing in a soap opera. And people are starting to wonder whether actually this is a bit more meta than you really think, that actually there is going to be a blurring of that. I mean, I bloody hope not.
Well, I'm kind of expecting it. I mean, RTD loves to go meta. That's a different style of humor, breaking the fourth wall. And remember, he likes to go fantasy now, which means in his mind, not adhering to canonical or even pragmatic storytelling rules, because for him, it's all about finding a way to tell his message. And I can see him applying some retro meta humor into the fix. I can see that.
Well, I mean, I'm dying to get going on actually what we actually think about this, but I'm just going to advertise below, everybody, so you can see we've got 3 reviews, but different panelists and different formats. I don't repeat. I'm not that type of channel. You know that, everybody. We're both teachers. There's no way we repeat a lesson without adapting it. So basically, our first impressions raw review with Boomer Doug, with Divine and Dragon, with Sunny Waffles and myself, we're going to just go at it. We're just going to say what we blooming well think on 11 p.m. on Saturdays. Then the marks, the burning issues, the criteria, John Daly being a stickler, Michelle will be there, Rachel will be there, and I've got a brand new panelist from the same town as me. That's 5:45 on Sunday. And then the RTD's Children of Time review, And I have to say, I can't wait to try that one out on Tuesday at 8. So we've got lots of fun ahead, everybody. And Christian is obviously on the first cab on the rank on Saturday, when we're going to actually start talking about this series, which are you thinking, oh my God. Paul Richards here is saying, for example, the trailers look like CGI overload. The trailer I saw when Mrs. Flood's in the garden and breaks the fourth wall, and the cartoon rocket, and a lot of people, I think it was Lee Smith that was saying before I even started the stream tonight, the acting of Varada Sethu it just wasn't good. And you just start to think, oh my God. And it was a bit like Rose in 2005. You know, when he tries to be too clever and he has a bit of kind of pop quiche music playing in the background. And it's heavily edited to say there's a lot of action here, but we want to get to another part of the plot. And you're just thinking, you've got Mrs. Flood talking to the camera, you've got a cartoon rocket, you've got somebody being kidnapped, and then you've got a Time Lord who's 1,000 years old underneath the rocket shouting at the rocket as if that would bring it back. The Doctor would never shout at a rocket, for God's sake. He knows that he's going to have to get back in the TARDIS and go after it. Why is he shouting out Belinda at it? This is almost like Flash Gordon from the 30s going Ron. It's kind of, I'm lost for words, Christian. Bail me out, my God.
Well, there is such a thing as CGI overload. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to remember, they had done research on it, wherein if you have too much image to mentally process, you lose the audience. You need to be laser-like focused on what you're looking at so the audience can appreciate it and digest it. At the same time, you need to tell a story that is compelling. And if you're providing trailers, you don't want to give away too much of the plot. You're supposed to make it compelling so people want to come in and see what happens next. But it feels very much as though they're giving away the entire game even before someone has a chance to watch the show. And now that people are coming in and doing their reviews of the first episode, even more has been revealed. So it's like, guys, don't you understand how to market a show and make it compelling so audiences want to see it?
And surely the discipline in marketing is less is more. And you do actually, as I said earlier in the stream, you show a bit of a hand, a bit of a disjointed voice. You don't even show the villain or the monster. I mean, that was the whole essence of Classic Who, that you didn't see the monster that week until you'd maybe got to part 2. And even then, it might have been at the end. So you've already waited a fortnight before you actually see the monster or the villain in their entirety, and you still don't know their motive. Whereas now, you know their motive, you can kind of guess what happens, you can see most of the scenes. I've already got about 45 photographs of the first story. It's only a 45-minute episode, 45-minute photographs. I've seen loads of trailers of it. I can almost stitch it together like Doctor Who. It's like...
You can. In fact, I love the idea of not seeing too much. Steven Spielberg, when he was doing Jaws, says one of the best disasters that occurred to him was the Jaws, the shark robot, kept malfunctioning, and they couldn't use it for 90% of the time. And it helped him find a way to tell a story that kept the audience engaged, ratcheted the suspense to incredible levels. It's like, wow, why didn't I think of that? I didn't need to see the shark in every scene.
And can you please allow, I mean, look, we're both English teachers, so I think we're going to probably agree on this one. The marketing and the way they're setting this up, you're not allowing any viewer to have any imagination or suspense. You are ramming the message and the story and the monsters and the villains and the robots at us. We all, with whatever TV or movie and reading, we like some space to do some thinking and imagining. And I feel as though that's been wiped away from this kind of, this over-the-top, desperate marketing strategy.
Well, that is the case. Very often when people are desperate, they do more of what they shouldn't be doing. They hold on to something tighter in their grasp and watch as sand slips between their fingers, but they're going to hold on even more. Uh, they're giving us too much information in the trailers, and they're doing too much of the wrong kind of promotion that they are doing. So I'm sorry, if I were coming in from the outside and I wasn't already a fan, I would not engage. I'd not be
No,
impressed.
no, it's not an access point. He made an argument in season 1 that he needs to kind of reboot for the umpteenth time so that new people can access. No, this is all gobbledygook. You wouldn't access this at all. Dildo Shaggins. Now, you've said you've got a friend here who can chat about the show with you guys. You know how to get us on DM the Sensesphere. Please DM us if that's the way you do it. If not, Gmail, sensesphere@gmail.com. Christian will have vouched for this. I get new panelists on. I get new opinions on. I am no echo chamber. I love to see different people's opinions. So please, can you do that, Dildo Shaggins? Please, thank you. David Harding, I'll look at this. I don't know what's happening then when some people have said ads are interrupting the live stream. I'll have to look into what's going on. I don't understand tech as much as most people, believe it or not. Sonny Waffles, who will be joining us, as you know, on Saturday night. The entire season seems lazy. Sonny, we're saying this and it hasn't started yet. It's frightening. Rose Kirby, who is lamenting, thinking this is going to be like a grieving process, has said, other than Joy to the World, Christmas specials, it's been 3 days since the last episode of season 1. There's been one lie after another. I have no belief. Oh, you sound that. You come on, Rose. Enjoy mixing with us a lot. Gore Vidal, good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while, but I may have missed you, old man. Writers, including Davies, being bored with the Doctors portrayed since his inception does help understand the radical changes made to the character these last few years. Christian, what do you reckon?
I think that's quite possible. They aren't really connecting with the Doctor as the Doctor was designed and as the Doctor evolved. They want their own spin on it. Maybe it will make them feel like they have more of a connection to it. Certainly, it makes them feel like they have more ownership of it because the Doctor is almost a thinly veiled self-insert to that universe. So I can see that.
Well, Sonny, very nice of you to say it. Hey, we could take on the world, Sonny. I am dying to build this community. And it's just because I like chat. Me and Christian, as English teachers, just love chat. We do not like a class agreeing with each other. No. I used to be bored in lessons. As I know, see, Christian, I was always bored when everybody just went, I said, does everyone understand? Yeah. I thought, oh, really? I wanted it when somebody said, you said that. I think this. I don't think this. I'm going, oh, brilliant. Here we go.
I tell you what, I teach debate. And man, if everyone in the class thought one way, it would be painful because there'd be nothing to debate, nothing to discuss.
Yeah, and there's no such thing as one viewpoint. There just doesn't. Daryl Joyce, still with us, bless you. All this footage, the trailers, floundering in panic, maybe. I think so. Now, to see, can you imagine me as showrunner? There'd be puppets in it. That's maybe not a good sign. It'd be like Thunderbirds.
I tell you what, I'd vote for Brendan as showrunner any day of the week.
Be careful what you wish for. So, but no, I mean everybody. So we've gone over the calls there, and you can see this is what started it all. It was the discussion of is it going into hiatus because RTD I think is over speaking. He did use the word pause twice when he was only asked about season 3. So we have got our theories. I've hardly heard anyone in the thread or on the panel thinking this is good news. I think we all know what this does probably mean. Divine and Dragon, you've been at work, and thank you for racing on. I totally
Oh, yeah.
appreciate that. And obviously, I appreciate Jeremy earlier and obviously John earlier. Thank you, everybody in the thread. Now, if you've enjoyed us at this time of night, in 48 hours, it's happening again, 11 p.m., as you know. So please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. We are a growing channel. Sometimes I feel like we're a limping channel. Sometimes we're a flourishing channel. You know, it's appreciated. I love building this community. I love the thread. I have to say, I know some streamers have bouncy conversations, but I think we have a good crowd. We really do.
You always have the best chatters in your streams. Just always.
Thoughtful, intellectual, tolerant, respectful of each other. You know, that's what it's all about. So everybody, I'm on just so the other advert, Christian, I'm never off, you know. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Oh, thank God, the Australian time zones changed and the British one recently has changed. So at 1 p.m. tomorrow, we've got the Doctor Who Detox Hour. And we've got the preview. We've also got all using nostalgia and gossip and fun with the whole detoxing team. But we also look at season 2 of David Tennant and actually consider that, since we're now doing season 2 here. And actually, there's some interesting similarities. Like you've got the Martha Jones being a doctor. Think about it. And that was the opening episode of that season. And now we've got Belinda Chandra. I mean, is he basically, Christian, that basic? He's just replicating stuff.
Well, that's what he's been doing since he came back. I think we've discussed this before. You can basically find an analog in every one of his current episodes for something that he's done previously. He doesn't feel very original. All of his stuff feels derivative.
Well, yeah. Thank you, everybody. I will try and sleep for a while and then do the detox at 1 p.m. And come on, we're Doctor Who fans. Whatever happens, we're looking forward to talking about some new Doctor Who. So thank you very much, Christian. Thank you to the thread. 1 p.m. tomorrow, UK time, and then 11 p.m. Saturday night, talking about the new episode. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Christian. Like and